Hi everyone, if you're watching this video, it is very likely that you are already a part of unWIND. And if you're not, what are you waiting for? Please join as soon as you find the membership link in the description below. So in this video, I'll try and summarize everything about unWIND, everything that you need to know about unWIND in terms of what it is actually, why was it started in the first place, what you can expect, how things really go about. So first things first, let's try and understand what exactly is unWIND. unWIND, simply put, is a scientific journal club. And what do I mean by that? A place where all of us come together to discuss primary scientific literature. It could also be to discuss review papers. However, for the first few sessions or for a good considerable amount of time, we will be discussing a lot of primary literature that involves real-time produced experimental data. So that's about what unWIND is actually. It started with the primary aim of the Indian life sciences student community, because I have done my bachelor's in India as well. And when I moved to the UK for my master's, I realized a key gap that I experienced here compared to my education back home, which was that I was completely unaware of how research was happening or being published in a real time. And whereas most of my knowledge, most of my theoretical knowledge at least, came from simply textbooks that were possibly published like 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And while reading your textbooks is good for understanding concepts, you need to also realize how quickly science changes over the years, not even over the years now. With the advent of technology, the advent of AI, you have science changing in a matter of months. So technically, if you're still sticking to the knowledge that you've gained from your textbook, you are almost 10 years behind in understanding how research really works, which is exactly why I wanted to start this journal club for especially the Indian life sciences student community. However, over the course of membership experience, we did have people from all walks of science fields like physics, chemistry, organic chemistry, physical chemistry, computer science even, and a lot of them are also from electronic engineering background. So eventually I realized that the best way to go forward is to keep it open for everyone out there, and that's how exactly unWIND turned out to be. Now, talking about why you should be joining unWIND and what you can expect from joining these sessions is very importantly, keeping up with current scientific literature. When you go on to attend conferences, a symposium, or hold discussions with professor whose lab you might be potentially interested in working at some point in your career, the first thing they are going to ask you is, what is the latest research paper that you read and why did you find it interesting? Could you tell us something about the kind of scientific literature you've been reading recently? Because that tells them how engaged you are with doing actual science and not just rote learning scientific concepts. Because even concepts that have been published, for example, 10 to 15 years ago, or have been accepted for more than 50 years, are consistently being challenged with new experimental data coming in. And that's exactly what science is all about. You will, secondly, be developing critical thinking and analytical skills by joining these sessions, where you will try and understand whether someone who has, for example, published a paper and is stating that X leads to Y, you will be basically dissecting carefully and critically analyzing whether their experimental data supports their claim. And this is a very crucial and important skill to learn if you want to make a career out of science. Even if you are not planning on becoming a full-time researcher or a scientist, critical thinking goes a long way. The ability to question, the ability to not accept anything at its face value is a very, very important skill, and unfortunately 95% of the population lacks this skill, because most